My guest this afternoon is comedian, actress, comic performer. She made her name back in the alternative era of the 80s, where it's very much a comic strip and the young ones and stuff like that. She's done absolutely fabulous with Jennifer Saunders for about 10 years. She's done everything from Casualty to The New Statesman, and including things like One Foot in the Grave, Bottom, with Rick Mail and Adrian Edmondson, The Young Ones, French and Saunders, you name it, she's done it. And she is everywhere at the moment because she's got a brand new book out called Not That I'm Bitter. Helen Lederer, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I am so happy to be talking to you, Andy Bennett. That's all I can say at this point.
Oh, thank you. We exchanged so many emails to get this thing to happen. We exchanged so many emails. I felt like, practically you're in my friends and family list. But here you are.
I know.
You've got the brand new book, Not That I'm Bitter, plus loads of appearances. You've been on the telly all week. You've been doing all sorts of stuff about the brand new book. The book came out yesterday. You're doing Bath Comedy Festival tomorrow at 4 p.m, but you're also going to be at Raven's Bookshop in Frome before that. Yate Library on the 27th, and then you're back doing Bath Literary Festival on the 25th of May next month. So there's a lot.
I'm going to have to move into Somerset.
Yeah, there's a lot.
To get a bungalow.
Got a tent you can borrow.
No, I wouldn't do a tent. I can't remember the last time I was in a tent.
No, I'm not a camping person. I love Glastonbury. Camping, tents are not my thing.
What's the oldest person that's ever performed at Glastonbury? Do you know? I've not even been there, but I've heard about it. You have to wear boots, don't you? Wellingtons.
You do. It's always advised, because typical summertime weather, you never know. The oldest person to play Glastonbury is Paul McCartney.
Oh, God, you know everything. That's it's good to be in your line. I thought I was being clever by, doing a question, like a Trivial Pursuits, but like all great ideas, they've been covered before. That's it.
There's no good ideas anymore, are there? We all just nick them off each other. Everything's been done.
Yeah. And in my day, you see, when I started as a stand-up in the 80s, there was a kind of gentlewoman's agreement, that you don't nick each other's material. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because then if ideas are out there in the ether, then somebody would do a rendition of something, and then it's like that magician. What's the name of that?
David Blaine, Dan Brown.
Oh, yes, Dan Brown. And then he does those tests, and then he obviously gets kind of people who are disposed to being influenced, and then subliminally he will put like pictures of a pencil, and then by the time they turn up, they'll say the word pencil. I find that quite interesting. I've learned through writing the book that maybe I am a bit different, but then most people are a bit different, so I don't really know where that takes me.
This is all in the book, the brand new book, Not That I'm Bitter. Let's start back then. When you made a name for yourself in the comedy circuit, are we calling it the alternative comedy circuit?
I think that means the alternative, I suppose, to be helpful is as opposed to the people who played golf, the Bruce Forsyth,
the Jimmy Tarbuck circuit.
Yeah,
the Jimmy Tarbuck circuit was always the very safe Bruce Forsyth thing, and then there was there was the comic strip, Rick and Aid, Lenny Henry came in, Alexi Sale, that type of early 80s young ones era.
Yeah. And Lenny Henry came in, interestingly, as did Victoria Wood, through a talent competition, which again is quite interesting about, what were the opportunities? There weren't that many, and it wasn't normal for women in those days. Not that I bang on about this, I don't, but for women to actually write their own material, produce it, direct it, and act in it was really unusual. And at one point they gave Emma Thompson, who's very clever, her own show. And then otherwise they had women impressionists doing it. So it really wasn't normal as it is today. So the book, people say it's alarmingly honest. So notice I get quite hysterical at the thought. So it both alarms. So there's something about me that is alarming because I'm honest, but I don't know how else to be. And when I sent it to the publisher, I thought I put everything in. I said, look, I can take things out. And he said, absolutely, you can't take anything out. But they have had a lawyer look over it, thankfully.
When you started, there were a lack of female comics, and I know you mentioned Lenny Henry and Victoria. Was it New Faces they got their break, or was it something else?
Yes.
I thought it was New Faces,
I think, Victoria certainly New Faces. Lenny, you being a person who knows things, it's something like that, or who knows? Would it have been Opportunity Knocks? No,
But
anyway, that's
it might have been
how
Bob
they
Says
came in.
Opportunity Knocks. But who was really doing it when you made a name for yourself? Was it just French and Saunders doing it? And
yeah, they were 3 years above me, sort of chronologically. If you think about being at school and you know, like, will the person in the year above talk to you, you know, kind of thing. And they'd already been championed. They'd organised themselves into a comic strip thing. They had an office in Berwick Street. They had a producer called Michael White. You know, they were there.
Yeah.
And Dawn and Jennifer had met at drama school, so they were a team anyway. And then with the advert of the Comedy Store, with Alexei Sale, you know, so 3 lots of male double acts. So they formed a group, a troupe. So they were already organised. And then when I was, I stole a female wonderful comedian from another double act. I met her at an audition, and I was, for 9 months I was in a double act. And I remember Maggie Fox and myself, we called ourselves Maggie Fox and Helen Lederer, just because we arrogantly thought, oh, and we mustn't compete with French and Saunders, we better put all our names.
Put the full names.
When you're young, yeah, exactly. And when you're young, you just believe, you know, there's an innocence at that time of just going for it. And then French and Saunders came to Pentameters, where we were doing one of our early gigs. We'd go there every Thursday, do stuff. And they were wearing Guernseys. Do you know that kind of jumper called a Guernsey? Yeah. Yeah, with white trousers. And we were so impressed because that was like, you know, that's what they were wearing. Whereas we were wearing our own clothes. But that's how it began. And then Maggie, bless her, went back to her original double act partner, of whom I stole her from. And then I just, because I was already booked, I thought, right, and that was it. And I just cracked on for 5 years on my own.
Was it difficult to be a female stand-up in a very male-dominated world? Because it was very Ben Elton, Harry Enfield, Lenny Henry.
Yeah, it was. You're right. But in those days, I wanted it so much. I mean, I just did it. So I was a trier, you know. I could send scripts in and I'd ask for meetings. And then there was one meeting I had with John Plowman, who's like very, very important. The BBC said, oh, great idea, but we've already got Dawn French heads. Yep. But that was, you look back and you go, well, what is the reason for anything? All I know is I really wanted it. So in those days, if you had more than one woman, it was seen as a duplication. Whereas if you had more than one man, you'd see it was normal. But I didn't go around there. I just kept trying. I was one of those people that just kept trying. But because I then got asked, and then I applied for jobs in the stage. You know, they used to advertise jobs or phone people up a lot. And then I got asked to do radio. So a lot of my first work, grown-up work, where you went on stage and people clapped, they just clapped, which was extraordinary. I thought, what is going on? I'd look behind me. No, this is normal. You're in the BBC radio studios and people clap now. And then it was just so nice to have like a job where there was a script and people were relatively nice to you.
My guest this afternoon, comic. She's an actor. She's an impressionist. Do you do impressionists, Helen?
No, that's what their first lie. That was the first
lie.
Andy.
Do you know who I got you confused with? For a moment, I got you confused with Kate Robbins.
Kate Robbins, I don't look like her, but Kate Robbins is a fantastic impressionist. So in that regard, you were 100% correct. Although occasionally when you do voiceovers, in the days when I did more, you have to say you're on your CV for Spotlight, you have to say what you can do. So I say I can do Northern Scottish, a very bad Liverpool one, because I had to be an educating Rita in Newcastle and my Liverpool accent was quite mysterious. But I can do Northern, because, you know, when I was in Coronation Street, she said, blithely connecting, yes, I was Northern. So I can do Northern, but with respect to the Northerns.
You can also do, and I can't remember the accent, but the first time I saw you half naked was when you were in Bottom with Rick Mail. I can't remember what you were, but you were like...
Moldavian.
Was it? But you had a really strong accent, and you were the one person...
I am here, and not just because all my assets have been gone up in a puff of smoke or something.
That's it.
Something like that. I talked a bit like my grandmother, actually. I channeled her.
You were very good, and you were the one person who was going to get it on with Rick Mail.
You know, when you meet someone, and maybe I'm thinking about people of past eras, like maybe Richard Burton, you know, who's just got that charisma. You just go, oh my God, oh my God. And there's obviously in the book I do talk about an interesting time with Rick when we were at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and he was absolutely lovely to me, very, very lovely to me, I may say. A lot of people are quite jealous.
I'd love to have interviewed him. I've interviewed Adrian Edmondson when he's been and done theatre around here, but I just think Rick Mayall was very, very clever.
Oh, God, yes. And he could do... I mean, he was lovely to everyone, but what he's a risk taker, because when he did his Kevin Turvey character, and I went to see, he would come on and people would just be, howling and clapping, and he would just hold it. He would just do nothing for a very long time. He was a real risk taker on stage. It was very, very exciting to see him because he sort of embodied it.
Was it ever a conscious thing? Like we've mentioned earlier on that you were very much early 80s alternate comedy. I think you did an episode of The Young Ones. You did Bottom. You did Ab Fab for a long time, didn't you? You must have been off and on there for about 10 years.
Well, I think they kept doing it.
Yeah.
And luckily I was mostly asked back. Because that was the 90s then. Yeah. Actually interesting. But when I meet people who talk about Ab Fab, and yes, totally iconic. What's interesting is that so many people said it makes them happy. So Ab Fab, for some reason, just got cut through a whole load of stuff. It was that time people were making fun of PR people. Don't we all want to do that?
Oh, good Lord, yeah. Oh, don't get me started on them. Carry on.
And, like the kind of fame game, just knocking fame. And then it became what it was mocking in some ways, because I was in one episode where Kirsty Walk, really brainy newsreader for Newsnight, and Mark Commode, the two of them were on, parodying themselves, and they wanted to be on it, and there they were being nervous in the makeup room, like going, "Oh, darlings, you just you'll be fine," sort of lauding it about. And they had Lulu. Lulu came, I think.
Oh, she did a lot, didn't she? Twiggy was involved and all that.
Twiggy. Some of them came, Baby Spice. They come with a team, people like that often had a hairdresser and just another person you didn't know who they were. They could have been a sister or an aunt, but it was someone important. Just very exciting to be a small part of Jennifer's creation. It was, an honour, really. But you don't know that at the time, because my thing is, well, you just crack on, don't you?
When I do chat to people like yourself, quite often people will say, "Oh, I forgot I'd done that." And like, if they popped up in an episode of, let's say, One Foot in the Grave, where you did one episode, but it was a very good episode because you stole the jewellery and Victor took the blame, and it was a very good episode. Some people go, "Oh, I forgot I'd done that," because how do you remember it all to put it in that book?
Interesting. And maybe the reason I did do the book was there's partly a passive aggressive gene in me where I just wanted to prove that I had done these things. So in the front of the book is this kind of CV, a joke CV. So I'm joking, but actually I'm doing it at the same time. So it's a funny little mind map of all the jobs I've done in the front, at the back.
Will I offend you if I say you play... There's a character or a version of a character that you play that I think you play very well, which is you can play very posh, very rich, but also very stupid and very drunk very well. Yeah,
maybe that I do like a drink in real life, but I think Naked Video was 10 years before Bridget Jones, interestingly, and there I was doing monologues, mostly written by Ian Patterson and me with a bit of add-on material.
Yeah,
with a glass of wine. It wasn't real, alas, but doing monologues, and that was the first time like a woman, a single, well. There weren't many women figures who were single with jobs and had like a file of facts talking about life and stuff. So and definitely single. So and I was called Girl at the Bar. I didn't warrant a name. So then
just
when
Girl at the Bar.
Just Girl at the Bar. That was a kind of 80s thing. God, it's just as you say, we can't move for women comics now. And that is a good thing. But there was a huge gap because there's nothing except for the elite stars. Then you had Miranda Hart, who, and then there was nothing. And then you had Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So there haven't been that many individual women. So we're not as far ahead as we think we are.
My little final quick fire, Helen, before I let you go and I plug all your appearances. Is there anything you would change? Is there one thing you wish you'd done over your 40 years, or is it all gone sort of how you wanted it to go?
I sulked for a long time in my 40s because I really wanted to write and be in my own sitcom. I wanted Miranda Hart's career. So I did a lot of sulking. So that would have been nice because I thought that might happen. And out of all the people in Happy Families, everyone else got their own series. But as the book says, not that I'm bitter. That other things happened, not that I'm bitter. Yeah.
Not That I'm Bitter, the brand new book. It got released yesterday, but you can see her tomorrow at the Bath Comedy Festival at 4 p.m. But also, if you're in Frome at Raven's Bookshop before, what time are you at Frome? Do you know? Sometime in the morning?
11 o'clock 11 o'clock. Frome.
11 o'clock in Frome tomorrow. A bit further down the track, you will see her at Yate Library on the 27th of this month, so a few weeks to go on that one. And there will be cake, apparently. Apparently there's cake. It says so on your website. And then
yes, please.
A bit later on the 25th of May, back in Bath at the Bath Literary Festival. Go on to her website, helenlederer.co.uk, and it's all there everywhere she's going to be in the West Country. Lovely to speak to you. We had quite an in-depth chat, but it's been an absolute joy.
We did. Oh, you're a real intellect, Andy. Well, I look forward to being in Somerset and embracing it. Yes.
Great. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.